Guess who's back? Back again, Dr. Bob. Tell a friend.
Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Ryan O'Neill.
And he's in the guest chair there in the studio. Good morning, Doc.
Good to have you as my host. Thank you, Brian.
Bad day for Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg yesterday.
Yes, well, I certainly hope that Mr. Wlea gets his lawsuit earnings before the whole Facebook corporation collapses.
Did you have any thoughts there on why this is happening?
No, I really wouldn't consider myself any kind of financial wizard in any way, shape, or form. But when you, and there probably are some pretty good explanations, but when you have corporations as large as Facebook, Microsoft, Google, places like that, obviously the chances for large losses are much more probable. So again, we're living in a different era, and when you say it's the the most historic loss ever, well, yeah, you're comparing it to times when the Dow Jones was in the 300s or 400s. It's just a totally different game.
Seglia once, it was discovered in the emails that they went through that Seglia had an email, getzuck@gmail.com or something like that. Well, there is an effort to get Zuck. Some of the stockholders want him out of there. Can you see that happening ever?
I don't know. He's pretty good at dancing, so I think his ability to hold on there has to be pretty strong. I don't know how much equity he has in the firm and such, so I can't really comment on it to any great extent. Obviously, the more unhappy investors you have, it's more likely you got to be willing to make some changes. Whether Zuckerberg can adapt or not, we'll have to see.
Michael Cohen, a longtime Trump attorney, and that was Michael Cohen's only client. He recorded Trump without Trump knowing it, released a recording between Cohen and Trump about paying off some mistress. Cohen and Cohen's attorney, Lanny Davis, says there's more tapes to come. Congressman Tom Reed weighed in on this on the press call the other day. Reed condemned Cohen for abusing the attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, well, I think he's absolutely right. And I think this is frankly going to ruin Cohen as an attorney, and I don't know what else he can do. He may be a pretty good short order cook or something like that where he can get a job. But it's, as Trump said, it's just sad. Now, I don't know anything about the tape. I haven't listened to it. My understanding is it's kind of garbled. But you say that Trump was Cohen's only client? Because my theory has always been that Cohen, being the sort of fellow he is, may well have some other deals that...
That's what I read, that Cohen pretty much only had Trump as his client.
Yeah, well, that's the case, and my theory is not particularly useful, but my theory was that he undoubtedly been involved in some other machinations of one sort or another that Mueller and his people are taking a look at. I don't know, but he certainly turned over pretty fast, and well, maybe not really fast, but still, it's a as Reed would say. I mean, clearly, it's a violation, I think, of attorney ethics.
Okay, Congressman Jim Jordan, the Ohio Republican, wants to become House Speaker when Paul Ryan leaves Washington.
Yeah, well, is there a line of people interested in doing that?
I was hoping for Trey Gowdy, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I don't know what Jordan's ideological place is on the spectrum there. Pretty clearly, and I've talked to a number of people in this respect, McCarthy's not going to make it.
Kevin McCarthy, California.
Right, who is the majority leader now in the House of Representatives. And, there is kind of a stepping stone arrangement there. But a lot of people think that McCarthy really doesn't have the backbone and decisiveness to pull the trigger when it has to be done. And although I think he's very well liked and very well respected, you got to have something there that drops a hammer occasionally on some of these people. The person I heard mentioned was the fellow from Louisiana or Mississippi who was shot in the softball game there. I don't recall what his name was. And he has a leadership position among the Republicans in the House as well. So you got that possibility. I don't know where Jordan fits in here, whether he would be in the ideological middle or he's way off on the right. I don't know.
Does House Speaker decide committee assignments?
He has a tremendous influence, yes. And as he picks the Rules Committee, for example, and he has quite a bit of influence on who serves as committee. In fact, he may pick committee chairs the more I think about it.
Congressman Tom Reed seems to get along with a lot of different people on a lot of different sides down there, so I'm guessing whoever is House Speaker when the time comes that Paul Ryan leaves, that Reed will not get thrown off all the committees.
Oh, no, I would think Reed's in line for...
Yeah, he seems to get along well down there.
Yeah, and his Problem Solvers Caucus, I think, gets a lot of good. In fact, it got a lot of publicity in, I think, Wednesday's New York Times, a big article on the Problem Solvers Caucus and how they were trying to get some. I'm trying to think what it is now. Whether
the Hastert rule, was that the article?
Yeah, a rule
makes it difficult to get laws introduced to the floor of the House.
Well, it allows one member to challenge the speaker.
Yes.
And Reed and the Problem Solvers Caucus, Democrats and Republicans, think he should at least have a third of the House vote to challenge. Otherwise, a single member can hold up business for a long time. In the
Reed
House.
talked about that on the press call the other day. We aired that yesterday morning.
Good.
Reed said that extremists on either side can make life hell down there with that Hastert rule.
It's time to move things along a little bit there, yeah.
Trump was talking up his trade policies in Illinois on Thursday. He said that the EU has agreed to talks to tear down trade barriers and make things better for American farmers.
Yeah, well, that'd be great if they did. I had the impression that he got some concessions from the EU president who just visited this country.
He said Trump said the EU says they're going to buy more soybeans from the U.S.
Well, that'd be great, but the real purchaser of soybeans are the Chinese, and again, I believe they've put a tariff on soybeans. Retaliatory
tariffs.
Right.
Did I say that?
On the other hand, if they want to eat soy sauce over there, I think the only reliable and the biggest source of soybeans remains the United States. I'll tell you, those farmers are out there producing, and when you go up against the American farmer in terms of production, you're going to lose because they're unbelievable. So if Brazil's crop comes in, why, the Chinese will be able to play a little footsie there. But if it doesn't, they're going to have to pay the price. And again, what Trump is saying is, look, you guys want to we can work some deals here. You want to drop the tariff on soybeans, and we'll drop the tariff on this or that, and maybe we can get some sort of deal worked out here. That's the whole idea of what Trump's trying to do, is negotiate here. So we'll have to see if he makes any real progress, which I think he will here eventually. But it's nice that the EU is willing to pick up more soybeans. They're a really good. It's a really good product for you.
On the topic of the Middle East, Iran and Trump, there's been a lot of talk back and forth, most recently between the Iranian generals and Trump, and the Iranian generals were speaking in pretty threatening ways.
Yes, well, I think if I were the Iranians, I would be concerned. Years ago, under the Bush administration, we had the impression that Bolton was encouraging the Bush people to attack the Iranians. And I thought at that time that was a really bad idea. But now things have changed, and Bolton is once again national security, I guess. I don't know, foreign security. At any rate, he's a big player in the development of foreign policy and negotiations. And Bolton has always wanted to go after Iran. But you got a couple other factors here as well. The Israelis and the Saudis would very much as well like to hit Iran and give them a good thrashing. But the real key here, I think, is Trump's meeting with Putin. We don't know what Putin and Trump talked about in Helsinki in their 2.5 hour, 2 hour and 15-minute meeting. And it's quite possible, I think, that Trump and Putin reached some sort of accommodation on Iran and on Syria. I can see a situation where Trump says to Putin, go ahead and pump up Assad, give him all the support you want, we're not going to interfere. And Putin in turn says, well, whatever you want to do with Iran, go ahead. Because, again, what Trump is concerned about and really supports is these strong leaders. And because he can deal with them and you don't have a bunch of tribes and such running loose, it's like herding cats, as Trent used to say. If you got a strong leader like Assad, and he's a very nasty man, there's no two ways about it. But still, you can get some results. And Trump may well prefer just having Assad in charge of Syria and staying quiescent with regard to Iraq and giving him, and of course we do have a large military presence over there already. I think if I were the Iranians, I'd be concerned. I think the chances of they're getting a good attack, a hit on some of their bases, on their ports or whatever, if they don't show some sort of willingness to denuclearize or stop increasing their nuclear potential, I think they're going to get hit.
Dr. Bob, one more question about Washington politics. What about Trump's idea of taking this security clearances away from people like Clapper and Brennan and Hayden?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I don't have any problem with that at all. They're out. They're out on the outside looking in. We don't need them taking advantage of their contacts in the State Department, the Pentagon, military security and places like that, and then running out there and showing up on CNN and MSNBC and places like that. Now, they got no right to that kind of security clearance at this point, and so take it away. I don't see any problem with that at all.
It's an honor for AM 1480 WLEA to broadcast local sports. We couldn't do it without the help of our local sponsors. Thank you to the following businesses for making our 2018 Hornell Dodgers season so much fun to listen to. The Ryan Agency, The Sports Fanatic, Steuben Trust Company, Wegmans, Perks Auto Care, Hornell Gardens, University of Rochester, and Dr. Adrian Ashdown's office.
And checking in now with meteorologist Rob Carroll, who says the weekend will be...
Not too bad. It actually looks decent, Brian. Though anybody who's going to be out and about on Saturday And pay attention, there may be an isolated shower or thunderstorm out there Saturday afternoon. But other than that, we look good for the weekend. Today, our big concern is the chance for a shower or storm. We have a frontal system trying to move through the state. It's having limited success. That's why we've got some cloudiness out there this morning. It has turned mostly sunny, though, around the Buffalo area. And that's going to try to get in here. There's another batch of cloudiness, though, back across Michigan. Shows us some more instability in the atmosphere. And as that goes by later today, that may help trigger a thunderstorm. So we'll turn sunny, and we have to watch out for a storm later today. Temperatures will be comfortable, 75 to 80. Sunrise this morning, 5:59. Today's the last day of sun up before 6 a.m. It'll set tonight at 8:35. Now tonight we turn partly cloudy. We're comfortable. We're 55 to 60. Tomorrow partial sun with the threat of a shower or a thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon. Just pay attention to the sky if you're out tomorrow afternoon. Highs will be 75 to 80. Tomorrow night partly cloudy, cool 50 to 55. And a pleasant day coming up Sunday, partial sun 75 to 80. Looks like rain could return to the region by Monday.
Governor Andrew Cuomo, he's giving $2 million to Puerto Rico for recovery efforts. Now, earlier this month, CBS and other media outlets announced that the mayor of Puerto Rico and two top officials were arrested down there for stealing $8 million in hurricane relief money. But that story doesn't get a whole lot of publicity.
Well, so this $2 million, maybe make bail for him or what?
Good idea.
No. Well, yeah, we don't want to spend too much time in the Puerto Rican jail. Man. Go ahead.
Cuomo's Democrat opponent, Cynthia Nixon, says the governor's more of a Republican than he is a Democrat or progressive. Nixon also wants single-payer health care in New York State.
Right, and free tuition for college students and the usual left-wing socialist approach to policy. I think, I just wonder, I don't know how many people have said this to me in the last few days, what are the Democrats thinking here? You got Bernie Sanders and what's her name is Cortez?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes. Out in, where were they, in Kansas or Nebraska, pushing their socialist agenda.
And Congressman Maxine Waters called them on that, saying that the Democrats are not the same as the socialists.
Oh, is that right? Right.
I was kind of surprised.
I don't know where Maxine puts the Democrats in, on the farther left than the socialists or more to the right. I mean, Maxine seems to be calling for all kinds of direct action, really nasty kinds of actions. And I don't think Cortez or Sanders is talking about anything like that. But it really makes you wonder, some of the press are touting the idea that somehow there's a socialist wave preparing to sweep this country. I mean, are they crazy? How far out of touch can you be with how people really think out there? And I'm sure Sanders and Cortez are more than happy to sop up all the publicity they can get. But I think she's going to be very lucky to win the general election in that congressional district. And I don't know where Bernie Sanders is going to wander off to, but I think he's definitely going to drift off into the netherworld there. But from the point of view of the Republicans, this is great. I mean, these guys are totally off the wall and forcing people like Cuomo, for example, and Kathy Hochul to talk like they're more and more to the left. And it's kind of like Nixon used to say, when you're running as a Republican in the primaries, you run to the right as far as you can. And then when you get into the general election, you run to the middle. And so that's what it's forcing some of these Democrats to do, hoping that at least they'll get a shot at the general election.
Cuomo's Republican opponent, Mark Molinaro, the Dutchess County executive, says taxes in New York State are going to go up 16% if Cuomo gets his way and gets a new version of Obamacare passed in New York State.
Well, that could be. I don't know. The healthcare situation is still unsettled. And again, the question is, can they make some of these adjustments that need to be made in terms of protecting some of these private insurance companies who are saddled with, a very heavy caseloads of people who need a lot of health care. One of the big problems here, of course, is that the mandated enrollment and payment has been removed, so that the basis for at least providing some sort of aid to these companies and forcing people to either join an insurance company or pay a penalty is gone. And so a lot of the healthier people, mostly teenagers and young people who think that they can't get sick or ever die, they don't buy insurance. They go without insurance, and so that the companies who would get insurance payments from them, and they tend to be the healthier people, then the companies can move to dealing with the really sick people. So that's something that has to be adjusted so that you can kind of protect private insurance companies across the board. Otherwise, you do end up, I think, with a single-payer system, which, I don't think is a good idea. I think you got to have health insurance, so I don't deny that at all. But just to let the government control over, I think you really are much better off allowing really a private government partnership in which private companies can compete and provide a variety of plans. So that needs work. And what Cuomo ends up trying to do here, I have no idea.
The lieutenant governor's race.
Yes.
Kathy Hochul, the lieutenant governor, Kathy Hochul, has some opposition there from that New York City official. Can Kathy Hochul be ousted by him?
Yes. Now, there is an article in the Empire State Report, I think on Wednesday, which one of the pundits there gave a long article on how Kathy Hochul could win. But it's interesting that he spent quite a bit of time pointing out that she still had a good chance of winning, which indicates pretty clearly to me that there's quite a bit of concern out there that she could lose. And this guy's the main thrust of this guy's article was that Williams just didn't have the organization to be able to take on the Democrats across the state, and that his feeling was that Williams had irritated some of the black leaders in New York City, and so he wouldn't be able to get their support. I don't know. But I do know that if Williams gets any kind of financial support, his chances of pulling out a pretty hefty vote in downtown Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and places like that, I think it'd be pretty good. And obviously, you would think he'd pull a pretty hefty vote in New York City, where I forget, it's a pretty good percentage, the black vote in New York City of the Democrats.
Do you know anything about the relationship between State Senator Kathy Young, who runs the Senate Finance Committee, and Lieutenant Governor Hochul? And would it be damaging to upstate if Kathy Hochul was not in that position?
Well, I don't know anything. I mean, I haven't talked to Senator Young about that, her relationship with Hochul, although, again, Hochul's been pretty active. Was in Erie County, I think, county clerk, and she was a congresswoman there for a short period upstate. But in terms of being harmful to upstate, yes, I think if she's not in there as lieutenant governor and this guy Williams is in there, there's no reason for him to be paying much attention to upstate. Now, again, this is not to say lieutenant governors have a heck of a lot of clout. The fact is they don't. But in terms of providing Cuomo some political support in a situation where he's got all kinds of people going after him, plus the media, he could certainly use pretty hefty black turnout in his behalf. And we'll just have to watch, and as this moves along, you'll get some cues, I think, as to how Cuomo and Hochul view their chances. And we've already seen one where Hochul is, I think, what she called for impeachment of Donald Trump already, and maybe she'll be making other comments of that sort to show that she can move to the left. But I think that's a race to watch. There's no two ways about that.
Well, Dr. Bob, your limo just pulled up. I understand from others who are going that you're going to go to that party on George Soros' yacht over at Cuca Lake tonight.
I don't have the funding available, but it'd be a nice weekend party. Yeah.
Have a great time.
Indeed. Wish them all the best. Yes.